Welcome back to the Garden City Outdoorsmen Podcast presented by Boondocks Hunting. I'm your host, Mike Nitre, and today we got the recap of bear season. Our segment A is finally done, and we got two killers. Their first two bears, one who's been on the show multiple times, our great friend, Merican Mike, finally got the monkey off the back, I guess you can say, and then our team member Peyton got his first bear. Was there for the experience. Incredible bear. But congratulations both to you two. It must feel pretty good. That's a lot of meat and a lot of fat for the both of you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Feels great. I mean, I was on here last week talking about it, and honestly didn't think I'd get lucky, but got on some good sign and got it done.
Yeah, I replay that kill shot every day, like 20 times a day.
So, before we get into the backstory on how you both guys killed, let's go real quick over if anyone was following along who's listening to this and follows Mike's page, the Back Dam Productions, he kind of gave us an update every day of how many bears were killed, such and such, and everything like that. But he broke it down for the final day. We'll start with, I guess. Oh man, I actually had screenshots of all. Oh no, you have it all. So the first day, if stand me corrected, I think I'm looking at the correct thing. Nope. There we go. Damn, where the hell is it, Mike? I'm
First
scrolling
day
through
was
your
105.
Okay, yes. First day was 105. That's a lot. That was very impressive. 105 bears killed on our first day. Mike, you killed on day one, correct? Evening, second sit.
Yeah.
Okay. And Peyton, you didn't see any bears day one. I didn't see any bears day one. No, I did. I did see a bear at day one. But nothing in bow range. Then day two was 52, still a pretty damn good number. That was when Peyton got his. Day three was another 52.
Yep.
Oh, wow. 52 and 52. That's pretty damn impressive. Day four, 43. Day 5, 59. And then day 6, which we kind of talked about, you and I said that it was going to be a slower day just because of the rain. And, not necessarily because of bears don't move in the rain. I thought it was really more because you just don't have as many, hardcore hunters, hunting in the rain. And that's my real thing of it. Unfortunately, I had to work that last day. And I switched my day to hunt was for Friday. So that's kind of why I wasn't out. But 17 bears harvested. That's a big drop off, but to be expected with the rain, with probably not as many people out. But James got it done on the last and final day within the last few hours of the season, which would put our total to. I just had it too. Jesus Christ.
328 bears in total.
Thank you very much, Mike. 328 bears in total. That is 13.5% of the population. 22 bears which were tagged this year, and Mike had a tagged bear.
Yes, and so did James.
Yeah. Okay. So the two guys from the Back Dam had tagged bears, which is pretty impressive. Did his have the tattoo? Do they all get tattoos?
So the tag is there, and the tattoo is the same number of the tag, just in case when they're fighting, if the tag gets ripped out, they could still track the number from the tattoo. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And when I checked in the bear, when they read the number out loud, they sent it over to some office, and the office called them back and told me exactly where I was hunting, because that's where they released the bear, which was pretty sick. They told me the exact cross street on where I was hunting, and I was like,
so, are these all nuisance bears that then?
Yeah, did they give you a backstory on your bear?
Not all of them are nuisance bears. They're also tagged just to keep record of, okay, if we tagged this amount of bears and this many were checked in, we could give you a assumption of the population that we have.
Okay. And James Bear was 100% was a nuisance bear, correct? I believe that's what he said.
That's what he said. The biologist told him.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool to get a backstory.
Yeah, right. Getting a tagged bear is that's pretty cool.
They told me that my bear was tagged last spring, and actually the lady that was there filling out the paperwork told me that she was the one that tagged that bear, which was pretty sick.
Wow.
And then James got an exact date. September 8th was the day that his bear was actually tagged in the year.
This year?
This year, 8th. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Some more stats for you guys. Zone 1. Which zone were you hunting, Mike?
I was in zone 2.
Okay, so the big zone. Zone 1, 81 bears. Zone 2, 106. Zone 3, 76. Zone 4, which is where Peyton and I were, 63, and then Zone 5 was only 2 bears. Do we know what is Zone 5? Because I know their numbers are always low every year.
It's like I think it's like a lot of Bergen County, and then I think it just kind of sneaks west a little bit, where you might get over like Ramapo Mountain. I think might be like, yeah. There's not. I don't think there's a lot of public land in Zone 5.
Okay, gotcha. And then Sussex County with 155, Warren with 100, Morris with 51, Passaic 16, and Hunterdon County with 6 bears.
There were also other counties on the actual NJ Fish and Wildlife website that had 0. So there were also counties that were part of the bear zones, but I just didn't put it there because there was 0.
Yeah, because the number was 0.
Oh no, I'm wrong. Sorry. Zone 5 is south of 4, so it's like south of 78. So like
closer, I guess,
like
closer
down,
closer to us then.
Yeah, probably about close to where you live.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I got to take a look at. I mean, I'm not going to go there. Obviously, if every year it's always
the water
lowest.
gap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty big zone.
The water gap has some big bears. It's like
it
must be tough hunting.
Yeah, I think it's like north. I think it like stops just north of Trenton. It looks like.
Gotcha. Well, we're gonna get into the story time, and Mike, we're gonna let you go first. We know how much this meant to you, and just from years in the past and everything like that, and Sam harvesting her first bear, and it's constantly always the topic of conversation when you talk to American Mike about hunting is the goal is black bear. And I know definitely the next goal is going to be with the trad. So I already know that's coming, but go through your process of getting this bear and the information and what you did, and then go through that whole day and that whole hunt.
Okay, so as all of you know from the Freezer Fillers chat, I've been out there every single night getting donuts from the trash cans. I mean, losing out on sleep, getting donuts from the trash can because so Peyton was hunting over a natural food source. Where we were hunting, there's no food for the bears. I'm just hunting like a 70-acre mountain, and there's absolutely no food source for the bears. So my initial plan is to set up a bait site, and they're going to eat so much that they have to shit. And you just follow the shit and see what path they're going. As you saw, I kept posting pictures of bear shit. And basically, I set up that I'm in a basin, basically, and there's only one way in and one way out, because these bear are not going to come from down a mountain up over. They're going to travel the path of least resistance. So I know where they're coming in from, and I know where they're leaving the bait from. My first sit of the day, I went to where I thought they would be coming in from, but it was complete opposite because I left to go and get food, and that time when I left, a bear showed up on camera. And if he was coming into the bait, it would have been okay. We would have like bumped into each other, but no, that bear came from the opposite way. So that's why from the evening sit, I'm like, okay, now I know exactly where they're coming from. I'm gonna sit that, like, in that direction of the path that they're coming into the bait from. And it was pretty cool because once again, the bear still threw me off. I don't know if they did what deer do, and you know how deer try to get downwind of you and circle you to check your wind. So we're sitting on the floor because my goal was to sit on the ground and kill a bear. So we're sitting on the floor, and I told Sam, I said, let's stand up and stretch our legs because it's like 3:00. By the time we sit back down and settle in, the bears should start moving. So we stand up, we're stretching our legs, and I'm just like, stretching. I look over my shoulder, and there's a bear standing on his hind legs, scratching his back on a tree about 100 yards behind me, coming from the complete different direction that I thought he was going to come from. I thought he was going to come directly from my right, but he didn't. He came directly from behind me. So as you saw, we were spraying ourselves down with glazed donut spray. We made ourselves the bait. So I had this bear coming directly behind me, and I told Sam, because at this point Sam's standing up, I told Sam, I'm like, sit down. You got to sit down because I'm shooting this bear. You sit down. So I told her to sit down. She's like stuck. I'm like, just sit down. You got to sit down. Hurry up and sit down because this bear is done scratching its back and he's walking his way. And that's where I turned on the GoPro on my stabilizer on the bow. And you could see on the full video when I posted up on YouTube, you could see on video, I'm literally turning all the way around to go behind the tree. And Sam's sitting down with her face down, and I know she's a little scared of them. I mean, she's killed the bear before. She knows what to expect, but I didn't want to freak her out to tell her that this bear is walking directly to us. This bear knows that we're there. This bear could smell that glazed donut spray and is walking head on to us. So while it's walking towards us, I immediately drew back, and I'm at full draw for like maybe a solid minute, just with it walking with its nose down, walking towards us. It stops, it turns. It's not giving me that complete broadside shot. Then I guess it must have seen movement because I stuck out a little bit further to get around this tree. And when it saw the movement, it started to walk away. So when it walked away, that's when you see in the video, I said, hey, and I just let it fly. And to watch it run off, I thought I heard it crash, but it didn't crash there because right after I said it just crashed, it got up and started running a little bit more and fell right over. And that was amazing. I was like silently screaming, it just went down, because it's been quite a few years I've been chasing bears, and I just wanted to shoot, something decent and respectable. And this was the bear that I sent to this group chat that I was telling you guys, if this bear comes in, I'm going to shoot it, because it had 2 tags in the air, and I've never seen one like that before. So it was a big deal for me. But that was pretty much it, man. It was and still is the highlight of my hunting season.
I love it. When you brought it in, you talked to us offline about it. But for the people, go through the process also of the tag, the mouth, everything like that. Right? Or did we do that while we were recording? Holy cow, my memory is going. We didn't, right? That was off, right? So yeah, go through that whole process of what it's like to have a tagged bear and everything like that.
Okay, so apparently I had missed all the action by maybe 2 or 3 hours because I heard that the news channels were there, all the animal activist people were there, and I missed all of this. When I got there, there were like state officials parked up in this parking lot, multiple sheriffs and police officers and game wardens, and everyone from the state is there. And when we got there, there was no one else, just all the state officials. And you pull into the weigh station. There's signs and cones that tells you where to drive. You drive in, you back up to the scale, and you pull the bear out. There's this older guy that, hooks up the bear with chains to his paws, hooks it up to the scale, and there's a biologist that comes out and pulls a tooth sample and puts it in a little case, and then I had to go and like physically check in the bear with the state, where there's a lady sitting at a desk, and she's the one that read the tag numbers in the ear, and she told me where I was hunting before I could tell her, because they always ask what's the cross streets that you were hunting in, so they could pinpoint exactly where it was, and they told me the cross streets that I was hunting in, which was pretty sick. And then from there, they hand you your patch and tell you the weight of your bear and the estimated live weight of the bear, and that's that.
What were the stats on the bear? What was the weight and then estimated live weight?
So they said estimated live weight would be around 200 pounds, and it was 165 dressed.
Still a big bear. That is a good bear, and it made
it's
it
not
even
that
cool.
300 pounder that I dream of, but hey, the tags and the tattoos did it for me. That made it 300 pounds in my book.
Definitely, and I think that just saves the 300 pounder for when you shoot one with the trad.
yes, that would be yes.
Yeah, and you know what? We have a funny joke. We talk about it all the time, Mike. But I'm kind of happy you missed all the nonsense and everything like that, because who wants to be around for all those anti-hunters and everything? It's a complete hassle, and even though could I have seen that happening to you? Yes, because that's somehow just just like what the conversation that we're having this morning. It is just your luck, but
it just follows me everywhere. Yeah.
I do know, personally, this was a tough one, and you talked about how this was a tough hunt and everything like that for you, and everything like that. So I feel like if they were there, it just would have made probably maybe the situation just a little worse. You know what I mean? And I imagine you would have gotten your picture taken and everything, and you maybe even be on video and everything like that. It's a whole hassle.
It would have been a story to tell here on the podcast. But what was pretty cool was watching Channel 11 News and seeing one of my friends on the news at the check-in station.
Really?
Yeah, and I sent it to him, and he's like, dude, every year I asked him not to record me, but somehow I get in it. He had shot his bear at 7-something in the morning, and I guess he was like one of the first ones to pull into the weigh station, and the news and everything was there, and he was like, yeah.
That's wild. I mean, I couldn't. I don't know. That's just crazy that that's how it goes, and still, it seems like every year, regardless, it doesn't matter, and I imagine it'll be probably the same thing in December again. You know what I mean? It's probably going to be madness all over again, but at least we're able to get one done and get archery back. I think archery is a much bigger key. If we were to save one, I definitely think it needs to be archery. You know what I mean? Early in the year, way more bears are going to be up and moving. And you're going to get, I think, a way more hunters out too. So I think this is the important time in the year. Now, Mr. Peyton, your story is pretty damn interesting. I mean, I know we have a bunch of video of you talking about it and everything like that, but lead us up, because like Mike said, Mike he brought the bait to them and gave them a food source, and then used it to follow where the bears were coming from, right? You went kind of the other way, and you used a can't say natural food source, because it is,
they planted it.
It's planted, but
standing corn.
You used a standing food source, which had tons of signs. So 2 different spectrums, but all at the same time, each was successful. So whoever you are listening to this, you're going to find success either which way you do. So Peyton, why don't we hear your story?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of did it the same way. I kind of like to do deer hunting too, which is just like the kind of the more mobile aspect. Kind of find the fresh sign and just set up on the fresh sign. I've scouted and spent a lot of time in the woods. I actually didn't think I was gonna bear hunt this year where I did. I was actually spent a lot of time in zone 4. in the summer kicking up bears and seeing bear sign all over, and actually planned on hunting there and bought a zone 4 tag as well. But it wasn't until I started kind of deer hunting where we deer hunt that I started finding them everywhere. And I know Mike has trouble believing this, but I hunted that spot all last year and saw little to no bear sign at all, going deep into it too. But I had that encounter that we talked about on the podcast, when I was sitting on the ground, and I was sending Mike texts in the stand and videos of bears like playing behind me in a different spot. And so sat kind of in that area the first day, got there in the morning, went in pretty deep. Hold on. Sorry, excuse me. Still getting over this cold. Went in pretty deep on this side of this draw where I thought that they might be traveling up, because it's kind of an open kind of timber flat leading up to these fields and these water sources, and the draw would be like the only bit of cover for them to travel along. And so sat there all day Monday, kind of just alternating on sides of the draw. Went in and sat another spot that I'd seen a lot of sign on Tuesday morning, and seen a little bit of deer action. Still haven't seen any bears yet. Just getting kind of discouraged, and that's when I started getting this cold. And I was talking to Mike about it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna go out. I'm feeling kind of crappy. Maybe I'll get out Friday and Saturday. And then Mike was like, look, weather's not looking great Saturday, so you might not get the opportunity to go out, because I know I don't like to. It didn't end up thunderstorming, but I don't like to hunt in the thunderstorm, like we've talked about before too. But he's like, really got Friday, and you got really like 3 hunts left, maybe. I was like, you're right. Let me get out. Got out, started walking this field edge, getting down into my spot, and then I just stopped, and it's like scat pile along this cornfield, scat pile, scat pile, scat pile, and then it just opens up, and it's where bears have been. You can tell it's not the deer because it's ripped from the stalk out of the ground. Everything's just destroyed. You can see the flat kind of trails where their big bellies are dragging through and knocking everything over. And I was like, okay, this is the spot. And I get up in the tree in the saddle where kind of I've seen bears come up the trail. On one side, there's another trail that's like a clear cut trail coming in on another side, and then there's just little game trails snaking all over right on the corner of this field, where it's like a 10-yard wide kind of gap in this thick stuff, where if they're coming to that corn from 180 degrees, they got to come by me at 20 yards. So I get up in the tree, I'm spraying that Rack Getter's kind of cover spray with the donuts just to cover my scent, and the bear comes from behind me, which is kind of, I was based on the tree layout, a lot of briars climbing trees and vines climbing trees, so I had to get in this one tree with kind of a dead hang to my one side, to where most of my shooting I'd have to shoot in the saddle over my back shoulder, which it's not an easy shot out of the saddle, but it was kind of the only option to put me on that X. And of course he comes from like the hardest spot, weak side back shoulder. And I see him coming, fortunately, from a long enough away that I can actually spin around in the saddle and kind of calm my nerves. I see him coming, lip up in the air, kind of like almost like lip curling, like smelling that spray, because the wind is going straight to him. But kind of stops at the trail where you can go left into that corn or straight down the trail right towards me, hesitates for a second and decides to go for the corn, and kind of stop him at 20 yards. And 20 minutes after climbing up in the tree, I was calling Mike, telling him to gotta come get the boys in the sled because we had a track out to do. But he went 60 yards through the cornfield, crashing a hedgerow in the thickest and nastiest, like everything likes to do, and cut him out of there and got a nice drag out.
Yeah, no. Going back, yeah, I won't forget, because that day on that Tuesday, Mike, like I said, Mike killed his bear on that Monday. bears were popping up, at least on, because I run trail cameras. I know Peyton isn't really into running trail cameras. I know he's got a few, but I don't think any at where we're hunting. But so bears were up and moving all day. On Tuesday, I picked the wrong spot. Had a bear there. Um, then Bianca had a bear at her spot and everything like that. So I had such a good feeling. I was like, one of us is gonna kill a bear. One of us is gonna kill a bear. And then Peyton was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get out for the evening hunt. And I was like, damn. I was like, and at that point, I get it. When you're not feeling well, I completely get it. But you
I'm
know,
paying the price now, but
yeah, as long
that drag did me in. That finished me
um,
off. I was sick for a week after that.
but definitely worth it. So I was trying to just get him like, hey, why don't you come over? He came over. He didn't. We went outside. We were just shooting in the backyard. He brought out his saddle and we were going over a problem, like something that was wrong with his saddle. And I was kind of like, listen, straight up, unfortunately we don't have much time. We got 6 days to bow hunt bear in New Jersey. I go, with weather and everything like that, you cut that down to 5 days, right? Yeah, you can get out there during the rainstorm, but you don't know what type of storm's coming in. If it's a light rain, then it's all right, no problem. But the rain, we've been getting rain every single weekend, and like
Only
downpours,
yeah,
right? And only the weekend, and it's just downpouring.
It's been pretty rough.
So we don't know what. So listen, just if you're feeling all right, just get out, because I guarantee you, either you or I are going to kill a bear.
I'm glad I toughed it out, and I don't think you'll ever regret. You'll regret going home, but I don't think you'll ever regret in hindsight toughing it out. Even if you go out and not see anything, like, yeah, you'll be sitting there like, oh, I should have gone home. This sucks. But like a week later, you'll be glad that you got out and at least put your time in.
Yeah, I agree. You got to give it your all. And that's kind of what Peyton did there. And I knew, now, Mike, I was literally walking out the door. I was a little behind because I was dog sitting, so I was letting the dog out and making sure everything's with the dog. But like, I was confident. I was like, I know I'm gonna kill.
I'd send you the videos of all that sign and everything.
Yeah,
and then you texted me. You're like, you're gonna get one.
I knew you're gonna get one. I'm literally walking out the door, and Peyton calls me. I go, you killed the bear. Like, I just like, how I be calling you, so that like you get those. Listen, 3:30, whatever time it was, you're calling me when I know you're in the woods. It's only one, because you got attacked by a bear, or two, you killed a damn bear. So like, I was pretty confident that Peyton killed a bear. And after that, I would go, Bianca, I gotta go. I'm not going out hunting. I go, you can come see the bear once we find it. Like, let me just get going. Then I started calling the boys, because I was like, damn, you never, like, you don't know. And he even said it. He goes, well, I was like, how big it is? He goes, well, 200, 300 pounds, maybe. But when you're talking about bear, whatever somebody marks up, I always mark down. So even when I say like, oh, like I'm chasing a 400-pound bear, I'm marking that bear down, honestly, probably like 50, 75 pounds, right? Maybe even 100, because they are so hard to judge. I sent you guys that video yesterday of that bear, and then originally when I first saw it, I go, I'm not going to shoot that bit. Like, that was a too small bear. When I reviewed the film of him passing my trail camera, that was a shooter. And I go, that definitely, they're just so hard to judge.
That's exactly what, like, I was explaining to my parents, because when they saw the bear, even when I walked up to my bear and I looked at it, I'm like, yo, this thing looks a lot fucking smaller than I imagined, because when it was standing on its hind legs, scratching its back on a tree, I'm like, yo, this thing's as tall as me. I'm like, big bear, big bear, big bear. The adrenaline got running, and then as soon as I whacked it and I walked up on it, I'm like, at least it's got tags. Like, it was pretty cool. But then when I went back to the trail camera photos to see the bear with the 2 tags in the ear, I'm looking at the trail camera photos and I'm like, yeah, this is the shooter. Like, I'm looking at this trail camera photo and I'm saying, I'll 1000% shoot this bear. And it's looking like 200-300 pounds on trail camera. And then you see it in person and it's completely different.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And with Peyton, I mean, I got as many people as we could because we were gonna need it. Because where he killed this deer, it's not like it's super far. It's like what, maybe a mile? I mean, not even. I don't even know if it's a.
I think it's like 3/4 of a mile, but it's
That's
downhill
still too far with a bear.
the whole way.
Oh, Mike, it's up and down.
Yeah, no.
So right, it's not like he shot at the bottom too. So, I was like, I was like, I knew the spot because I've killed a deer there before and I've seen bears there before. I was like, like this is gonna be a bitch, right? This is gonna be rough. And just a great experience. Thank you for everyone coming out, but I'll let Peyton go. And yet again, he's a little. So if he does stop and cough and everything like that, it is the
My apologies
because of he got a cold and went out hunting and killed himself a pretty big bear. So continue.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I called Mike and Andrew called me back in the tree. I was like, as soon as I shot it, I called Mike, I called my dad. My dad's been hunting his whole life, and never hunted bears. He always knows that I'm up here. I got a lot of bears around. Where he hunts in Maryland, there aren't any. So him and my mom are always kind of paranoid. They're like, "Oh, you going out here by yourself with all these bears, no sidearm, permitted." And I'm like, all right. And he's just like, you better be really sure that thing is dead. And that's the first thing he said. Told me to let it sit for like 2 hours. I was like, okay. I was like, you know what? I'd rather let it sit an hour more than an hour too early. So I hike out. I get down. I hike out. I meet Bass at the trailhead, already there, like gung ho, ready to help me out. We wait for Mike and Andrew and Bobby to show up, and Andrew's friend Vic, just like a ton of guys just come out of the woodwork, to help me out. And first time game warden shows up right as we're about to go in. First time ever getting, I've been hunting and fishing since, middle school. I'm 24 years old now. Never gotten checked. My dad will go duck hunting 3 days. I'll go 2. They'll get checked the one day. Like I'm not there. Like never been checked. I don't know why. But so it was kind of a cool experience. It's just like, oh man, I've been waiting years for this. And he's like, I was actually like kind of excited. Like I know a lot of people dread it, but I was like, oh man, this is cool. I've never been checked before. And he's just like, congratulations, and go there. And was the same guy. His brother actually was at the check-in station. So small world. The game warden. Him and his brother are both game wardens. So, but yeah, go in there. It's not a short track jog. They don't bleed much, which I guess makes sense. Because of like all the fat on them. Once you cut these things open, and then you see it's like, it's like about an inch of fat on these bears, especially this time of year. In that like hyperphagia, like I'm butchering that, but the process where they go in and they start eating 20,000 calories a day. And it was just bigger than I thought. I actually, they're so hard to judge. I was just like, oh, it's probably I thought 200 pounds. And we get to it, and this thing's got a head on it like a basketball. And I'm like, oh, this is a little bit bigger. We're crawling through the briars and, in the hedgerow, and Mike's on one edge of the hedgerow. I'm on the other end. Mike's not picking up blood on the other side. I'm like, well, it must be in here. I'm in there with Bobby, and I'm like, I think that's a bear. And he's like, no, it's a log. It's a log. And then he goes, oh, wait a minute. I think you're right. Then crawl up to it through the briars and cut him out, get the little Leatherman saw out and cut all the briars and the stuff out of the way. Fortunately, I had help there, because I don't know if I would have been able to get him out of there alone. Maybe the sled in like 25-yard increments and throwing up, but I don't know if I would have been able to get him out of that hedgerow. But so I really appreciate everybody's help. I've said it 100 times, but everybody really came in clutch there and hooked me up. So I owe everybody a a beer and a nice drag out one of these days. As soon as somebody gets on the board.
Mike, I mean, to tell you, like, with my perspective of it, when you're not the hunter and you're going to track a bear, my anxiety was through the roof. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I've tracked a lot of animals. When you're tracking deer, it's like, like, no problem. Like, oh, there's blood everywhere. It's like, you know that thing's dead, right? You could just, because of the amount of blood, and usually can find bubbles and stuff like that. And granted, yes, he had bubbles on his arrows and everything like that, but like you said, there's just not much blood to be found unless they rub up against something when they're running. You literally, we were hands and knees trying to find like little spots of blood.
Pin drops. And I got a pass through.
Full pass through. It did
Big
get
hole.
a little easier once we got into the corn.
Mm-hmm.
Yet again, because he's passing through stuff. But you still weren't sure. And then he ran out to the other side. And I think I was the one that kept finding like new spots of blood, because you guys were still in the corn. I wrapped around because we knew
you found where he went into
corn.
the hedgerow.
Yeah. Mike, let me tell you about this hedgerow. You would not have gotten in this hedgerow, right? That's how.
But how the fuck does a 300-pound bear fit inside of that shit?
There was no hole where we were looking for like him busting through somewhere. There was no hole at all. There was no clear sign. There was no clear sign. I found a speck of blood. That's how I knew he went there. Once I found the speck, then you look a little further. Then that's where you started seeing more and more blood. And then Peyton had to go in there. It was Peyton's bear. So he was like, listen, I'm going to dive in there. Him and Bobby went and dove in there. And the rest of us, we wrapped around, because if he did bust through, there's got to be blood. There has to be sign. You know what I mean?
On the other side,
instead of them wasting all this time, barely hands and knees and moving an inch per hour through this thicket, like, we'll just wrap around and see, and just let's cut some time. Nothing. But yet again, that didn't mean he didn't go through there, because it didn't look like he went in there to begin with. We only saw it because of the blood. Like, there was no, you're expecting, like we say, you're expecting to see carnage. You're expecting to see things broken and limbs. I don't think there are any limbs broken. It looks like he perfectly
wasn't even breaking green briar. Like,
nothing.
Like the green briar, like, that you couldn't throw a football through. I'm going through, it's ripping the hat off my head, and it's just like I'm just like doubting that I was on the if there wasn't like the pin drops here and there, and then I started looking ahead and was pretty sure that I saw him, I probably would have backed out of there, pretty quickly. But it was, I mean, that's just the stuff that they live in. They like the thick and nasty.
Mike, do you have that on film? Like the thickness?
We have certain stuff. So I do have a video. It's not much, because I was so like, your mindset is not really filming. It's like, shit, we're going into thick shit. Like, let's hope this thing is dead, because the size of this bear would have killed all 6 of us. Like that,
it's crawling in that.
So
it was very tunnelish.
There, I do have a video of him cutting and everything like that, but I'm pretty sure, I got to double check. I think there is a video. You can't even see the bear. Like, you just see thick shit. And even with our eyesight, just being there in person, he was, like we said, he was coming from the other side. So we were on the other side, and we were looking, and they're like, oh no, we think it's there. And we're like, no, there's no bear there. Like, we're looking through
20 yards. I could barely see.
It was so thick.
It was a two-way, one-way mirror through it. It was crazy.
It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. The heart rate was a little high. Once we found out he was dead, like, it was like, all right, cool, like, let's celebrate. Like, I feel so much better. But not knowing that he was dead, even though, like, I had complete faith in Peyton's shot placement, I think I was more the one that was like, no, he's dead. Like, on the phone, I was like, no, he's dead. Like, when he sent me the picture of that, I was like, he's dead.
All the bubbles.
That's a dead
in the
bear.
arrow.
But like, you don't know until like if you're Mike, you get to see your bear drop. Like my bear that I killed last year saw it drop. Like that's like, all right, he's dead. When you're
And
bow
make sure
hunting
to
and he
poke him
ran,
with a long stick first.
and he poked him with a long stick.
It's funny because when Sam was hunting and she shot her bear, she shot it with a crossbow, and we were using a Muzzy fixed blade. And that was, we first bear, we didn't know better to use a bigger mechanical broadhead for more blood, but we found one speck of blood, and that was when we had to call the dog. And the dog found that bear literally in a thorn bush. Out of everywhere for it to run, it went up in under the thorn bush. Like you could have walked past this thorn bush, looked at the thorn bush and said, there's no bear in there. But the bear was in that thorn bush. And it's funny because Sam said to me earlier that morning, she said something about, oh, if anyone shoots a bear, tell them to look in a thorn bush. That's what she said sitting next to me. And it's funny that you said this because it's amazing how these bears, I don't know, move through all that thick shit and make it look like they weren't even in there.
Yeah, no, it completely like blew my mind. But that's when the work really started.
Yeah, it had a pretty big hole in it too, and I shoot fixed blades. I shot a Slick Trick standard 104 blade, and it cut good holes. And we get up inside and got the pass through. So you had, and I was shooting from an elevated platform, so you would think that I'd have, that vent hole. You shot him at 20 yards, so almost, at a very good angle down to where you would think you'd get that vent hole, and tore, and the vent hole was even bigger because that arrow kind of worked its way out slow on that back end. It didn't just like zip right through, which it's kind of hard to fault the arrow or the broadhead when it's thick 300-pound bear not getting the zip through. But yeah, I was surprised at the lack of blood. I could see it running away, and on that backside, I knew it got the pass through because I could see it kind of pumping out. But then just I thought we were going to be following a river, and I was so like almost getting nervous. And I was like, oh no, like are we going to be out here all night? How far did this go? Did it go into the next field? It's like, oh no, what did I get these guys in for? 5 guys out here, and we're going to be dragging this thing all night. But fortunately, it was stiff as a board when we got to it.
Yeah.
I think it was very quick and.
Yeah, that bear, he died probably within a few minutes of you shooting him.
Oh yeah.
But it's always better
before
to be safe.
I got down, probably.
Yeah, probably. But it's always better to be safe. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And, wait for the boys, and we were sitting in the parking lot just bullshitting, and we're just waiting. And then we walked in. But this kind of goes back, and Mike, you being the bear guy and your love for bears and everything like that, and how many encounters you've had. Just all 3 of us can now definitely say, like, for the most part, if you're bear hunting, expect that midday, right? That
3:30.
midday 3. If you're in the early season, they move. It's different. It is such a different, like, someone asked in the group, and they can, yes, of course, it can be all day, just like deer, right? But your main time with deer are going to be early morning or late evening, right?
Especially right now on public land.
Yeah, you may get that like midday. I'd say midday more during the rut, right? But with bears, I don't know. I feel like I could easily skip a morning hunt and just head out at noon, and I'm pretty sure I will see majority of my bears from noon till 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
And just that like 2 to 4 o'clock window. I mean, I only have like 2 cameras out right now, but every picture I have of a bear is from 2 to dark. With one big one coming in at 1 a.m. But
yeah,
I agree.
But the official weight on your bear, Peyton, was.
So weighed in on the scale, field dress 282.5. The guys at this check-in station were gassing me up. It's in the back of my truck. They like get it. They're like, whoa, wow. They're like, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty like pumped. This is my first bear. And they're like, oh, this is a really nice first bear. And I was just telling, I was like, the boys in the parking lot, they had a little bit of a pool going. And I'm like, what do you think it is? Like, what do you guys think? And then the one guy said 360. The other one said very confident over 400. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, oh, we got something here. And then they hung it up. They're like 282.5. Oh, we were wrong. I was like, all right, well, I mean, that's still cool. It's still awesome. They think probably 330 walking around weight is what they told me. So yeah, I mean, pumped to shoot a bear that big. It just kind of kept getting bigger. I kind of was the opposite happen. Of where when you shoot a deer, you're like, oh, I think it's a monster, and then you get up and it's like a basket rack or whatever, right? But this kind of was like the opposite for me, where it kind of came in so fast. I was like, I don't know, like 200 pounds, and I also don't know anything about judging the size of bears. So yeah, kind of worked out. I knew it was a legal bear, based off kind of research, but yeah.
The funny thing is, you talk about the whole you almost shoot a basket rack. This guy almost popped a freaking a spike before.
Oh yeah, that morning. Yeah, I thought a spike was a doe that morning. I was like, because I was talking to Mike. I was like, the freezer's empty. I think I got 2 pounds of deer meat left. I was like, I gotta whatever walks out this morning. So and the zone we're in, you'd have to have 3 on one side. So it was kind of early morning, and I was at full draw on this what I thought was a doe, and kind of like it was kind of cloudy, but it was still 30 minutes after legal shooting light, and kind of turns its head at the last second. The shine hits the little spikes hiding behind his ear, and I was like, oh, you don't know how lucky both of us are right now. Little do you know.
I bet you wouldn't have thought that warden was cool then.
Would have been totally my fault,
We would be having a whole different podcast right now.
Yeah. But, I guess it goes to show, be extra careful before you pull the trigger, and I'm glad I was. There's a lot of shots I've had this year that have just been too dark that I haven't felt good on, and that just solidifies it. It's like, I'm glad I'm so I was almost worried, and I was like talking to my dad. I was like, am I not trigger happy enough? Like, am I too kind of hesitant on the trigger? And he's like, no, I mean, that's never really a thing. You got to always be positive and careful, and make sure that you always have your target kind of completely characterized before you go to pull that trigger. That's how people get hurt. That's how animals get wounded. That's how you spend all night tracking stuff. That's how you get tickets. How many people you think shoot like, button bucks and little spike bucks, during early September when, we talked about, might induce some trigger happiness there. So, almost a different conversation, but freezer got filled in the end.
The good thing though about the button bucks, that's gonna, as much as at least it's still legal. Once you hit that spike, especially in a zone where you can't, after 3 inches, right?
Yeah, and it might have been less. Why play that game?
Yeah, of course, hell yeah. I mean, I don't blame you.
Like I said, we
could be having a different conversation.
3.25, and you're like boned, but it's like. So yeah.
I've heard of horror stories, and I know this is completely different, but I can't remember. I was watching some hunting video, and everyone knows my dream hunt is in Alaskan bull moose, and this is where they were, and I think it has to be 60 inches, the spread apart. And I think a guy killed a moose 59 and 3/4 or something like crazy, where it was like it was a hair to being a legal bull for an out-of-stater. And he got a ticket, had to give up all that meat, everything had to be given up. And I think he got it back eventually, but during that process they take away your weapon. Right? So
it feels a little questionable in a spirit of the law sort of sense, but I know what you're saying. In that situation, it feels a little questionable.
It's just like the littlest of little.
It's not like he was able to walk up to that moose and measure that shit before shooting it.
No, but you
Yeah.
know what? A lot of people say that, and yet again, I've never but they,
Guess we
the
have that with
people
bears
that
too.
hunt, it's like that with bears
We
too.
got that 75-pound limit. You're not gonna walk up and stick one on a scale.
to-
But it's kind of like
and
what I was going with bears is like I got a black lab at 75 pounds. So I'm like thinking, I'm like, this dog's gotta be, bear's gotta be bigger than Cole. It's gotta be bigger than Cole. That's all I'm thinking, like the whole time. Then I saw, I'm like, this thing is definitely bigger than my dog.
It's funny. It's funny because when I walked up on my bear, like the first thing that came to mind was James's dog, and I was like, "Ah, damn!" Like it fucked with my mind a little bit. Then I walked up on this bear, and James's dog was the first thing that came to my mind.
Listen, the bear I shot last year reminded me of a dog. It's just so different. Like seeing after you kill them. Listen, it reminds you so much like a dog. They're just so big and fluffy and somewhat cuddly. I guess. You listen.
Yeah.
Let me not say
I
I
don't
guess.
know.
I love bears. Every time I see a bear, especially when I'm in a stand, I literally just want to jump out on top of it and just hug it. I don't know why.
Do it.
You won't think so afterwards. It'll change your mind, I think.
The bear I saw on Sunday, I mean, I walked right towards. I could have killed that freaking bear. If they let the season go one more day, I would be. I wanted would have already been out in the woods and he would have been passing my cam and I would have smoked him. Or two, I could have spot and stalked him because I knew he was coming, so he hit my camera, and I said, "Shit, there's a bear." So he's coming. He went to the cornfield exactly like I thought he was going to do. I snuck around this bend and I'm watching him, and all you see is black. Like that's all. It's just a black spot. And he didn't see me yet. And I could have, if I had my bow and it was legal and everything like that, I could have gotten probably within 20 or 30 yards. But instead, because whatever, I just wanted to get him on film and get him moving so I can grab my camera and go do what I had to do. I just kept walking right towards him, making myself known. I wasn't saying anything, but I made a know. He saw me. Him and I looked. I recorded him. As I got closer, he was like, "Nah, let me get up." And he ran on the same exact path. And he kept looking back. So he kept stopping and looking back, and I kept going. So he was like, "Nah, let me just get the hell out of here." And he dips. But another thing I'll say about this camera and on state land is I've noticed, and I've said this before, but holy hell, people do not know how to hunt. I will tell you. Now, this was a main trail on state land. So there's a cornfield, and the state makes these trails, for the pheasant hunters. And I knew that there were going to be people. I'm not saying there wasn't, and this wasn't for me to. This was my spot. I just knew that there's bears coming through here. I found the scat and everything like that. So I just knew that was heavy because I was on that path earlier that day. There was nothing. When I returned, there were two fresh scat just all over the place, right? So I put the camera there, whatever I left. I think I saw in 2 days almost 8 people. Now, whatever, that's not that big of a deal. But what you had was people walking well past the time they should have already been in the woods. And then maybe 30 or 40 minutes later, heading back the direction that they came. Right? Every single time they did that, there was an animal walking by that spot. If they just would have stopped, sat down, they probably could have killed a bear, a deer, a fox, and a coyote. All those animals hit my camera from within when people were moving and everything like that. Right? Then another group of person. So oh, okay, maybe he's going for a hunt. 10 minutes later, guy returning right back on the camera. I'm like, what are these people doing? With bows, I think everyone had a bow except for one guy. He had a shotgun, so I think he was just small game hunting. Everyone else had bows or a crossbow, and maybe one guy was scouting or something like that, and maybe had a stick. But I was like, bruh, when I saw that bear, there were people on that before that bear popped up, there were 2 different people walking back and forth on my camera. And he showed up not too long after. It's like, can't y'all just sit the hell down and just like,
Dude,
like
that's like the guy that I ran into at the side of the road.
Oh yeah. Tell that story real quick. Tell that story real quick.
I had this one buck, a funky looking 7-pointer, nice, decent buck coming in every single day at like 5:30, and I sent in the group chat the pictures of this deer coming in every day at 5:30. I ended up leaving my goddaughter's birthday party early just to get in there and try to get Sam to fill her tag. So I'm going in there confident as hell. Here comes like 5:20, right where I know these deer are coming in from. I'm looking about 90 yards out. There's this guy walking with this big ass ladder stand. Now this is 5:30 in the afternoon. He's got a big ass ladder stand on his back. He puts it down by a tree. He's looking over his shoulder. So right away, I took my flashlight and I'm just strobing it at him. Those stream lights are pretty bright. He's able to see that shit. He then takes an air horn out of his book bag and hits it in there. Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? So I immediately get out the blind and I'm like, yo. And he comes walking up to me. And apparently one of his friends was right behind him. So his friend comes walking up to him too. And I was pissed the hell off. And when I walked up to him, I immediately caught a Trinidadian accent. He was Caribbean. He's West Indian. Okay. So the angriness left me because I'm like, maybe this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So I'm talking to him. I'm like, oh, you're Caribbean? He's like, yeah, I'm Trinidadian. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm Guyanese. And then he's like, yeah, the other day I was here and I saw your setup and I'm catching on to what he's saying. So basically, because you saw my setup back here, you thought it's okay to come all the way back here and set up right next to me. So anywho, I let him talk. And he goes to say how he's been hunting for years. When he says he's been hunting for years, that's when I got angry again. And I said, you've been hunting for years, but you're walking around here at 5:30 in the afternoon, booping a fucking air horn. And he goes, oh no, I was just doing that so my friend can follow me because he got lost in the back. And I said, bro, I have deer coming in here at this time every single day. And I'm getting, just like this, I'm getting frustrated with him. And his friend's like, come on, man, come on, let's go. And I'm saying to myself, what the fuck is wrong with these people? 5:30 in the afternoon, you're coming in here. And then I have it on video. The guy goes, oh, back here, you're in a good spot, man. If you sit here till about dark, you might see some deer. I said, I'm not going to see shit now.
Wait, that's not even that is not even. Mike sent us at what time was this? They were on Mike's trail camera at nighttime.
Yes.
At nighttime.
Midnight with a fucking rifle walking through the woods.
Like
what are you doing
deer?
with a rifle? He told me when he saw me in person that he shot a deer and he was looking for it. Why are you looking for a deer at 12 o'clock in the middle of the night?
I'm not allowed to carry a rifle either.
Also with the rifle.
You can't even rifle hunt during gun season. You can't have that beard.
There is no rifle. There is no rifle season.
You know, wow.
And the thing is, right, a couple days before that, I was reading an article how Onyx and the trail camera submitted their information to the warden's office to catch this guy hunting bears over bait, right?
Oh, really?
So when I saw that online, yeah, Mike Wrights, the guy, Eric's guy.
Yeah, shout out Mike Z. Wright. Yeah, he wrote an article on that for Field Ethos. It's a great read. Yeah. Check it out.
So I read that and I immediately thought, I'm like, yo, I hope Tactical doesn't think that I'm out there right now walking the woods with a rifle. So I screenshotted it and I posted it to the story and I said, just to let everyone know, we're out here partying right now. We're all the way in Pennsylvania having a fucking blast because that was the same night that I got my license back. I was like, I did not want to get caught up for some shit that I'm not even doing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember that. That was funny as hell, and it's crazy how this stuff happens. But
that really sucks.
Boys,
that ain't right.
Right. I think this is gonna wrap up our segment A. I mean, what a time, what a season it's been for bear. I'm excited. I haven't decided if I'm going to be out yet to bear hunt in segment B, but if anyone is interested, I will put in the work. I will easily guide or record someone, film somebody who wants to get out and to shoot a bear. So let me know if anyone is interested in that. I haven't decided yet because I already got the one with the gun, and everyone knows like I just love bow hunting, and that is the goal. That was the goal from the minute I found out that bear season was coming back. So I feel like I don't know. I just got to do it with the bow, but if anyone's looking to get into hunt, let me know. We got plenty of bears. I know we did it 13 whatever percent we said is really not really doing much to the population, especially with once December, and I think it's going to be a cold December. A lot of bears go into hibernation, especially mamas with cubs and stuff like that are giving birth. So only the boars are going to be up and around, and they don't move nearly as far like it is right now. So it is a different ball game, but it is a hell of a time. We had tons of fun during 6-day last year, but yeah, can't wait. We'll be giving you guys another update next week on our deer season with the crew and everything like that. Mike, it was a pleasure on getting you back on. We're definitely gonna have to we still have to do your part 2 of the Free American Mike campaign, which he is back at it. So we're gonna wait until this man probably gets a buck, and then we'll talk and everything like that. Peyton, as usual, it's a pleasure. I'm working on your video right now, and almost actually done with it. Just gotta get in a few more of the words and transitions and everything like that, and it should be good to go. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And boys, you got anything else you guys want to say before we head off?
No, I mean,
Not
just
much.
rut's coming up, so kind of taking a little bit of a break right now, going home, and kind of get back to hit it hard again. You know, next week it's a long season. We got till January, for almost late January, so
No, we got
Yeah,
till
stay on.
February. Deer
Early
season goes till
February, yeah.
February. Yeah. Mid Feb is bear. Mid March is coyotes. Mike, we got to do some coyote hunting this year for sure.
It's turkey
Peyton,
season.
if you're interested, you should come out with us and we should do some coyote. It is so much fun. Absolutely love it.
It's
But
just like what I told you, Mike, in the last episode when you had me on. I said once I found out that bear season was open, I dropped any care for deer was out of the window. I was like, fuck
Yeah.
bear season. I'm concentrated strictly on bear, and it paid off in the long run. The one thing I do want to say is if James is listening to this, I fucking told you so, because James was chasing this one target buck he's got, and I'm telling him, I'm like, bro, you have 6 days to kill a bear. Go to this bear spot. I told him what spot to go to. And he's like, oh, but this buck daylight. I said, fuck the buck. He'll be there later. Go and kill a bear. And he went in the morning. He went that morning, and he left the woods like around 10:30 because he said he had to shit really bad. He left the woods. He said he had nothing to clean himself with, that he had to go and find a restroom to use. He left at 10:30. By 11:20, there were like 4 bears in front of the camera. Then,
Jesus Christ.
Then I sent it to him, and he's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" So he sends me back a message like around 1:00. He's like, "Bro, I'm in. I got toilet paper. I got snacks. I got a portable charger." He's like, "I'm not leaving." I'm like, "Okay, all right." Little do you know, 2 hours later, right around that 3:00 time, he calls me to tell me he's got a bear.
Let's go.
It was good.
That's
great.
great.
It was great that he listened to me.
Definitely. Finally, it's the other way around now.
Yes.
I definitely.
Now.
Yeah, time for bucks. Oh gosh. No, I'm gonna save it for the next episode of my damn dilemma. I can't believe what happened today. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.